always, thank you for tuning in to watch this episode of Season Talk. And so today's conversation will start with a question that many of us don't always get to choose. What happens when life gives you circumstances you never asked for? Chronic illness has a way of interrupting plans, identity, and even how you see yourself. Today, we're going to be talking about lupus, but more than that, we're going to talk about owning your truth when your body, your timeline, and your expectations change. Because sometimes the real work isn't just surviving, the diagnosis is learning who you are in the middle of it. But before we begin, I want to not only introduce but welcome Miss Kaylynn Hall back for another episode on Season Talk. So again, thank you for showing up. And most importantly, I just want to thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to share this new journey, this new chapter, this new road that you have to go down. Okay? Now, I'm gonna start off with a question. First of all, how you feeling? How you doing? Let's start there. How you feeling and how are you doing?
Um, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. Um, and I feel better. I'm feeling better as the
Okay.
time goes on, as the days goes on. Um, Working with some new medication and some
Okay.
new lifestyle changes.
Amen. Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's take a journey back. Can you take us back to when the idea of lupus entered into your life? In other words, what did you think was happening before you could name it?
So, I noticed I was formally diagnosed with lupus in December of 2024.
Okay.
But prior to that, it was probably maybe around 2020,
Mhm.
maybe 2021.
Mhm.
I started to become more achy.
Mhm.
And at the time, that's really what I felt. After working my 12-hour shifts, I thought I was just overworking myself or overextending myself. And I ended up going to my primary care physician and talking about my symptoms. And she said, well, if you're achy, like, let's get some x-rays. And
Okay.
the x-rays were negative. And she was like, well, um, I want you to, give some blood. We're going to test your ANA.
Mhm.
And what I didn't know is if your ANA is positive, it could be positive for a bunch of different things, but it could indicate that you have an autoimmune disorder.
For the viewers who don't know, what is the definition of ANA?
It's like a titer, like a
Oh,
certain
okay.
level.
So it's like a title level. Got
Yeah,
you.
and
Okay.
if you are positive, that means that you have antibodies against yourself.
Okay. Okay.
So that was positive, and
Mhm.
then fast forward to 2023,
Mhm.
I believe I was having abdominal pain, and I
Mhm.
ended up going to the ED, and I had a CAT scan.
Mhm.
And they said, your lymph nodes, you have a bunch of like lymph nodes that are enlarged in your abdomen.
Mhm.
I had a follow up CAT scan about 6 months later. It was unchanged.
Mhm.
That's how, I ended up getting with my PCP and getting with oncology and also rheumatology because we were just trying to figure out, is this cancer? Is this something autoimmune? Um, I ended up having a formal like biopsy
Mhm.
with a general surgeon, and it took over a month to come back because they were checking for lymphoma, and you have to process those biopsies a certain way, which I learned.
Mhm.
And then I finally got the diagnosis with I had certain lab work done specific to rheumatology, and with my symptoms that I had, because then at the time I was becoming fatigued. I was feeling like nauseous. I was having a lot of GI symptoms. Like my body was just really off for a while.
Not like your normal self.
Yeah.
And just to elaborate, this is why going to the doctors is important.
It is.
Primary care, your your annual visits. You know, for me, is being disciplined with my mammograms.
Yeah.
And you know, just stand on top of your kid. You know, even believe it or not, just being on deficient can turn into a huge problem. Which is one of my issues that I'm constantly needing on. You know, vitamin D is another common one, especially with Black, African American women. We are constantly low on vitamin D. I also take a supplement, vitamin D supplement. But it's just important. Don't ignore your body. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in life and work and, building out careers and, wanting to, being a mom, being a wife, you may take care of, you may be a caregiver, you may have to take care of other people, but pay attention to yourself as well. Sometimes we can ignore us for the sake of life and the busyness and the wear and tear that we have to go through life, but you have to slow down and get your physicals and stay on top of your exams. Now, of course, definitely an unwanted circumstance,
Yeah.
It kind of is like a identity shift a tad bit.
A tad is an understatement.
Right. And I'm quite sure you went through, and the reason why I can relate, I remember when I have gotten one of my mammograms done one time. And this is probably back in about 20, maybe like 2021, somewhere around there. And I remember they called me and they said, "Hey, I need you to come back and follow up," because that's when I learned that I had what you call fibrocystic breast. And that's the first thing I thought, so especially when your background is oncology. That's all I really know.
Yeah.
When I first started off in nursing, before I even became a nurse as a nursing tech, I started off in med-surg oncology, so I always seen patients, the symptoms, and, breast cancer was definitely one of the ones that was one of the health conditions that was on the rise back when, I began to enter into my phase of nursing. And so I was scared to death. And then I started thinking about, what if I have to, I'm young, vibrant,
Yeah.
Yes. But I was just thinking, what if I have to remove my breast, And this is not to be insensitive to anyone who had to do that, because I know it from both ends, from being a nurse who deal with patients who go through, cancer diagnosis and, lymphoma and leukemia, all these different type of, illnesses, that we have to battle. Losing my mom to ovarian cancer, it's challenging. And that's the first thing I was thinking of, I just started, I was married by then. And I just started wondering, like, how am I going to look? My husband, he got to see my body. I don't have no breasts.
Yeah.
You feel like you're not normal,
Yeah.
And so, I share that to say I understand what you probably went through for a self-image. And not only what you went through, probably what you still have to go through to keep your mental and stuff at a balance, to keep you healthy. You want to share?
I definitely have going through that and still trying to work through it. Being a nurse, you never want to be the patient, and it's like it stinks when it's like you have a diagnosis that you've seen before, and you know medically like how things can get.
Yeah.
Like you know the good side of things and the bad side of things because you've seen it. But I would say it's definitely like a work in progress because it's just like, you know, I got the diagnosis when I was 29. And I was like, well, I'm sore all the time. Like, I don't feel like doing anything. It's like my weight is fluctuating because my appetite's not the same. All these things. Just not feeling normal. And it's like, you know, I love what I do. I love being a nurse. And it's like, how can I take care of these other people if my health is spiraling out of control, you know? Or a big thing with me is, you know, I'm young, vibrant, you know.
Of course.
I'm out here, you know, dating and trying to maintain other social relationships. And it's like, will they understand how I feel? Or will they understand when I have to decline an invitation because I'm not feeling the best or things like that? It has definitely been a work in progress, but all I can do is just take it one day at a time. And I'm still educating myself about lupus, but I'm also staying away from the content that's out there that is negative.
Yeah.
Or
stay off of Google.
Yes.
I have to tell them, stay off of Google. Make you feel like you just about to end it all.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Did lupus force you to grieve a version of yourself?
I feel like yes, because again, you know, when you're used to just getting up and going.
Okay.
And used to having all this energy and things like that, and then you go from that to just feeling like you don't want to do anything or feeling like you like fighting to get through the day.
Yeah. Especially working.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That was a very like trivial time for me. But it's like I grieve it, but I'm also looking forward to what's next.
Absolutely.
Especially leading with this diagnosis, because I will say, being diagnosed with lupus and working with my rheumatologist and the rest of my, you know, medical team, it's just like it really made it that more serious to me. How important it is to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you have a chronic illness or not, like it definitely put some things into perspective for me, and it motivated me to want to take better care of myself, if anything, because I'm not gonna be defined by this lupus diagnosis.
That's
I
right.
am living a life, a full life, and lupus is hanging on with me.
I know that's right.
That's what it is.
How did it affect how you saw your strength, though, and your independence? So I know you talked about, you know, the physical part.
Yeah.
But would you say you gained more strength? Like, let's say maybe like in areas of faith or, you know, mindset shift. Did it increase your mindset to, like you said, to think more healthy? You know, how did it affect how you saw your strength and independence? To make you feel like, well, I can conquer anything. You know how sometimes you go through stuff and you be like, I know for me, you know, overcoming scares that I have had, and then, you know, losing my mom to ovarian cancer alone, I never the strength that I had to have to be the oldest of six, never planning a funeral, having my siblings looking at me, hey, what we're going to do, and I don't even know what I'm doing. I gotta be transparent and talk about it. My mom didn't have life insurance, you know. having to empty out your savings, you know.
Yeah.
And not to, shame my mom or disrespect her in any way, because, she had her life struggles as well. Um, I realize that I'm stronger than what I think sometimes. I don't give myself enough credit for the things that I have overcame. So that's why I asked you that question. You know, do you feel like I'll let you explain because I don't want to talk for you.
I feel like going through all of this and finally achieving a diagnosis and getting some answers, it really was a test on my faith.
Okay.
And it really showed me that I do have people around me that support me, and it is okay to lean on them.
Amen.
Especially when they're saying like, "Hey, I'm here for you, whatever you need." Because like when you are used to being independent, and you got your own place, your own job, and your own life going, like it kind of affects your ego when you have to stop and say, "Hey, I need help with this," or "Hey, I'm not feeling well, so I can't like honor that commitment right now," or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the biggest struggles for me, and just with my pride. But on the other side, again, it allowed me to have stronger faith, and it just changed the way that I cherish my life and my health. Really,
Amen.
honestly.
Yeah. And so, just to add to that, sometimes illness doesn't just affect the body; it challenges how we define ourselves.
Yeah.
And that leads us to what it means to own your truth. Owning your truth is important.
Yeah.
What does owning your truth look like for you
now? Owning my truth now,
because we want to be perfect.
Yeah.
We won't admit it, but we want to be perfect, but we're not perfect.
Right.
And this is why your journey is what it is. My journey is what it is, because it gives us that uniqueness as an individual to, mentor, to encourage. You don't know who may see this and be like, hey, this is helpful. This is what make your truth, your uniqueness as an individual when it comes to sharing your story and encouraging and uplifting. So again, thank you, because I know this probably wasn't easy at first to talk about, and to see how you're smiling and you're so light, it's amazing to see.
I appreciate that. I just feel like I am at a point where I'm working to make peace with this. But
when you say, I guess you saying when you say make peace is I guess you're just accepting it as a part of you.
As a part of me.
Yeah.
Like I'm Kaylynn and I'm 30 years old and this is my life featuring lupus. And
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let it take over, but I just feel like when you talk about like owning your truth, I really had to be honest with myself about certain things. Again, like making certain lifestyle changes.
It's almost like you have to normalize the eternal battle.
Right.
What's going on inside. And
right.
That's where the diet comes in at. Because I say this too. You ever seen how, and we say this all the time, the worst patients, hypertension, the ones that have hypertension and diabetes.
Yeah.
Those two areas in the healthcare world are the most non-compliant people I have ever encountered. I'm one of them. I was one of them. Just got to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this to say that what I mentioned earlier, we can be so busy working life, getting up to go where I was not taking my blood pressure medicine. And it wasn't a point where I'm just being non compliant. I'll be forgetting to take the pill.
And it be like that.
You know? And the next thing I know, like my head is, because sometimes when I know for me, one of the symptoms with hypertension is that you get the worst headache when it's out of control. Mm-hmm. And I just be like, why is my head hurting so bad? And sometimes I feel like you can feel it, like your body just feel like the blood is just like fighting, you know, restricting, you know. And I would take my pill and I would feel better, you know, after time. But one thing, I was going to the doctors, and I always share this story when I teach my students, especially when I was teaching my CNA students about, you know, the elderly and diabetes and, you know, blood pressure, is that if you're not disciplined in taking your blood pressure, that is one of the ways you can end up on dialysis, you know, because of the kidneys. You know, we have blood vessels in our kidneys, you know, and it has to function at a, you know, it can't be because it busts, you know. And so, not to get too deep into medical, but I'm just sharing my story, is that it's an eternal battle where you have to slow down and take a minute and think about you know, think about what you need to do to be healthy. Because like I said, I see people with diabetes and will still eat however they want, and they be like, I'm going to eat this, don't worry about it, I'll take my insulin later on to cover the amount of calories that they have eaten. And I'm like, you can't keep doing that, because that is going to catch up with you.
And that's absolutely true. And I've seen, what really scared me was, I used to work med surg, and I had a one lupus patient, and they just had a bunch of comorbidities. They had a lot going on, and I'll never forget that patient. And then when I found out that I myself had lupus, I was like low key freaking out, because I'm like, well, is that about to be my future? But I feel like when you talk about owning your truth, you have to be serious, and you have to be for real about what's going on. And I think when you talk about noncompliance, some of these people, when I hear noncompliance, I think about people either lacking resources or just lacking the education and the drive. Because if you telling me I got diabetes and they can't mess around, cut my whole leg off.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because you ain't cut my leg off. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have to do what you have to do to ensure that you can live a healthy life. With this diagnosis, I can live a healthy life, but I have to be serious about me. I gotta put myself first and take care of me. You know, I can't take care of other people if I don't take care of me first.
And I just want to add, age, it doesn't matter how old you are.
It doesn't.
And even now, you know, even with the diagnosis of, you know, breast cancer, we're now seeing younger women, and I don't want to get too far off a topic, but we're now seeing, you know, younger women coming in.
Yes, young women, like in their 20s.
Yeah.
It is really scary out here. Like, it really is. It's kind of, that's when it kind of comes in, like, the more you know. We work in oncology, but it's like, we know what's going on, but
and so you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta go to the doctors. You gotta follow up. You gotta do the hard things. You gotta do the scary things. No, nobody wants that unwanted circumstance.
Yeah,
that's what my pastor say. Call it unwanted circumstances. Nobody wants these type of, you know, illness to arrive in their life, but they are treatable. God is a healer.
Yes,
they are curable. But if we're not going to the doctors, and I gotta keep stressing this, if we're not taking time out to go to the doctors, to take care of ourselves, to eat healthy, to do better, to exercise, talking to myself, we gotta do better.
And I do want to say, early detection
Yes, that right
saves lives.
Amen.
And that's why, on my social media or to my friend group, I'll be like, go to the doctor, pee in a cup, get a physical, get some labs drawn. You should be doing that every single year because you think you're fine, you think you're young. Just like me, I'm 29 and they telling me I got what going on? Like, I thought I was young and I'm superwoman. And it's like, if I never followed up with my primary care physician and did what I had to do on my end, I would still probably be out here not knowing what's going on. And then the effects of lupus would have eventually broke my body down.
Yeah, it'll caught up to you.
And what I also will say is, if you feel like your doctors are not listening to you or they're not addressing your needs, it's okay to seek a second opinion.
Amen.
Don't let nobody bully you. Don't let nobody try to diagnose you and not break it down, not do it the right way, be thorough about it. You have options out here. So there's more than one doctor out here. Do what you got to do to make sure that you live a healthy life.
Amen. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. That's so important. That is so, so important. Making sure that whoever you are trusting with your life, that they're listening and they are taking what you say seriously. And if they're not, second opinion for sure. Now, let's just address this. We tapped on this a tad bit earlier, but I want to kind of spin back just a tad bit. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Emotional and mental impact. So, were there any moments where you felt misunderstood or minimized?
Yes. So, I remember when, what was this, back in 2024, my primary care physician realized that I had another CAT scan and it was unchanged. She still saw the node, so she wanted me to have a PET scan. And PET scans can detect like abnormal cell growth, but it doesn't, even if it shows abnormal cell growth, it doesn't necessarily indicate cancer, but it can indicate, other things going on in your body, inflammation, things like that. And I remember I went to this oncologist for the first time, and I was with my mother, who's a breast cancer survivor, and she was giving me the results of my PET scan. And at the time, she didn't know that I was an oncology nurse. So she's telling me, hey, like, your PET scan is showing some abnormal cells in both your, armpits. And so I'm emotional, I'm crying, and she's like, well, why are you upset? And I'm, just telling her why I'm upset. Yeah, she was like, well, why are you crying? Like, she was like, what we want to do is a formal, biopsy, where they go in and they took the lymph node that was abnormal out, and they, cut it up and tested it for lymphoma and all these other things. And she was like, you're fairly young. If this is lymphoma, we have options to treat you. But then when it came to her assessing me and things like that, I'll never forget, I had these boyfriend jeans on, like thick, like kind of like Levi texture. And she's trying to like palpate these lymph nodes.
You mean like
through the jeans. Mind you, she does not know that I'm a registered nurse, so I'm just sitting back. I'm just letting her do her thing.
Wow.
And then she proceeded to tell me that sorry, sometimes on heavier set people, lymph nodes are harder to palpate. So again, my mother's sitting in the chair. She not saying nothing. Wow. She's behaving. I'm sitting there like, okay. At the end of the visit, we finally had the discussion. And I'm like, yeah, I work oncology, whatever. And we walked out of there, and my mother was like, oh, no, you got to see somebody else. And honestly, at that time, I felt like if I didn't know what I knew, I would have just been okay with that visit. You didn't assess me properly, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like, when you talk about, I don't even want to talk about like bias in the healthcare
Yeah. No, it's a real thing, though.
world,
It's
or
a
like
real issue.
that
Yeah.
racism, things like that. Like
Yeah.
she could have looked at me and assumed that she just is a regular Joe Smo, but it's like and it's stuff like that. Like, you weren't even assessing me properly. That's how stuff gets missed, and that's
Yeah.
why I said it's okay to change your doctors up, because that's, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
gotta take care of me. That's what you're getting paid for.
Yes. Well, there you have it. Before we go, one last thing. What would you tell someone newly diagnosed? Somebody may stumble across this and they might be scared. They don't understand. And I mean, I know we just shared a great deal, but if you can give somebody one sentence,
One sentence.
I too.
Okay.
What would you tell someone newly diagnosed?
I would tell them that your life, this is not a death sentence,
Mm-hmm.
and that you should take care of yourself and keep people in your circle that will uplift you and they won't judge you, and they'll help carry you when you're lacking strength, or when you feel like your whole world is crumbling. Keep God first. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, like, this diagnosis will not define you.
Amen.
But if anything, it could help to make you better. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you have it. Again, I just thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
just being vulnerable to share. I really appreciate this, and I'm just looking forward to when you come back, to see what the next season is for you. Okay?
Yes.
And as always, we're going to close out with our information. Unwanted circumstances don't get the final say over who we are. They may shape the journey, but they don't erase purpose, value, or identity. Owning your truth doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing to live honestly with wisdom and grace. As always, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.